And that's what Bill Burr has always been really good at calling out, and that's one of the reasons why he's pissed off. You know, I think it's maybe the reason why a lot of right-wingers initially kind of gravitated towards Bill Burr, because he's got all these specials where he's talking about PC culture and virtue signaling and performative wokeness, and he's calling all these people out. But what he was always calling out was that idea of like, do you actually care about the thing that you were trying to like talk to me about? Do you care about the issues concerning black people? Do you want to get reparations? Did you want to increase the median wealth of a black family? Do you want to make sure that like black people are not denied jobs based on having black sounding? Do you care about any of that? Or do you want to sound like the most correct person in the room right now? The perfect white.
For conservative people to act like they're not the biggest fucking babies also is fucking hilarious. Have you seen this fucking my people, whitey? We're all fucking upset. There's enough of us to get it going, trending anyway. We're upset about the new Cinderella movie. The actress playing Cinderella isn't white. There's no prince. They changed the story. What am I going to tell my kids?
I can already hear all of the fucking right-wingers being, "We wanted Cinderella. It was Snow White. Her name is Snow White. It has white in the name. And she wasn't pure. They took that from us. They took everything from us."
Kids. The shit that my people get upset about. What am I going to tell my kids? Well, fucking talk around it the way you do we talk around the real history of this country. I think you can do that. You can talk around fucking genocide and slavery. I think you can talk around a stupid fucking movie about some broad who didn't exist. You can't do that? Go take them to go see fucking Pinocchio. I don't like Pinocchio because that fucking wooden puppet transitions into a real boy. First of all, I don't like trans people, and God only makes real boys. Not some immigrant named Geppetto. What am I supposed to tell my kids?
That was another fantastic rant from Bill Burr's Monday Morning Podcast, and I think that everything he said there was spot on. Now, to be fair, he does take some swipes at liberals in that episode because he thinks that they're also a little bit too sensitive as well. But I mean, the current prevailing...
That's what Bill Burr does. Look, I'm currently making the next Serfs documentary on Bill Burr and his latest special, because there's a lot of people who are getting upset in both directions. People being like, wait, Bill Burr, he's not woke. And then other people being like, no, Bill Burr's woke now. He said free Luigi. Yeah, but his old comedy isn't woke, and he goes after the libs, and he's a sexist, and he did all these things. And it's kind of like, Bill Burr, for anyone who doesn't know, is a really good example of just a human being who is experiencing growth before the eyes of the world, all right, and becoming a better person as a result of it. Like at its core, when someone is like, that's woke, it's like, well, what do you think woke means? Well, DEI, CRT, Sweet Baby Inc., diversity, forcible, anti-whiteness. It's like, no. How about being aware of the oppression of other people or groups? How about that? And if we use that as a guide point, the more aware you are, the more you probably want to both improve the conditions of other people, because you realize it improves the conditions of everyone, right? Like, we're not free until we all are. You can really see that play out in the United States right now, where a lot of people are kind of like not getting too mad about the whole rounding up people off the streets and sending them to concentration camps, because it's, oh, well, they were gang members. Tren de Agua, Venezuela. They're evil, so I don't care. And then it's like, well, turns out that they were not gang members. Turns out a lot of them were just regular people. You know, one of them was just a gay barber. One of them was a tattoo artist. Like, just normal people, who were living their lives, who had, yes, immigrated to the United States at one point in their lives and had overstayed their visas or whatever the case may be, and are now being rounded up and shipped off permanently to a concentration camp. Oh shit, y'all are also just arresting apparently U.S. citizens because they are scary looking. They have tattoos or they're not white enough. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe you should be outraged at this because like this is where it starts. And that's one of the reasons why people consistently say that we're not free until we all are. Same thing applies to trans people. Whereas, yeah, the majority of the population is cis. That is true. But you can see what is happening right now as a result of all these outrageously hardcore transphobic bills and argumentation being put forth by politicians. Well, it looks like cis people, specifically cis women in this case, are becoming the victims of this because they are getting fired from their jobs or they're getting harassed in bathrooms because weirdos are now taking upon themselves to become genital inspectors. Like, I wanted to make the bathrooms safe for women, which is why I stand outside of the women's bathrooms and make sure everyone's a pure biological female. And it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that sounds horrifying. But that's the reality of all these kind of policies and the direction we're headed in. So it's one of those things where, yeah, Bill Burr has horrifyingly bad transphobic bits or homophobic tropes in his past or shit like that, and he talks about them. If you listen to his latest special, it's about, yeah, I was homophobic. I didn't know it. I thought it was enough to just be like a good liberal who sits there and is like, you can marry who you want to marry. Love is love. There you go. I'm not homophobic. I can't be because I'm okay with gay marriage, kind of. I don't want to see it. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to see two men holding hands in public. I don't have to ever see them or think about them kissing. Ew! And never unpack any of the clearly deeply embedded homophobia that I have. And he didn't realize that until he had to go get a massage with his wife. And the masseuse was like, do you want a man or a woman? And he got offended by that. He's like, I'm fucking a woman, obviously. I'm not gay, bro. What the fuck? And then the massage is like, sure. I mean, it's your choice. There are plenty of heterosexual men who don't find the act of being massaged by another man to make them a homosexual. It seems like the deeply insecure and threatened heterosexual man might. Like, yeah, I could get why that freaks the fuck out of you. And he explains all this, right? Like, this is all part of the bit, and how he's trying to not use the F slur anymore, and how he's trying to become a better person, and he still fucks up because he's a crass human being at the end of the day.
Narrative in this country is that liberals and the left are by far the biggest snowflake pearl clutchers who support censorship and tone policing and all that bullshit. But in reality, the average right-winger is far more hypersensitive to things that offend them than the biggest snowflake on the left is. So it was really cathartic as a leftist for him to challenge that prevailing narrative and give most Americans a much needed reality check. But I think that the reason why the right has gotten away with being the supposed warriors against political correctness for so long is because they've been able to successfully frame their anti-woke outrage as a response to the—
Well, no, I'm going to do the fair thing here and say that there was a big problem with liberals and liberal identity politics trying to take over social movements and replace actual material change with people trying to basically one-up each other on who knows how to say the right terms at any given time, right? And that's what Bill Burr has always been really good at calling out, and that's one of the reasons why he's pissed off. I think it's maybe the reason why a lot of right-wingers initially kind of gravitated towards Bill Burr, because he's got all these specials where he's talking about PC culture and virtue signaling and performative wokeness, and he's calling all these people out. But what he was always calling out was that idea of like, do you actually care about the thing that you were trying to like talk to me about? Like, if you tell me you're not supposed to use that word, the term is African American, sir, how dare you? Oh, I didn't think I would witness such vile racism to hear you use the term black to refer to an African American. Shame on you. And it's like, do you care about the issues concerning black people? Do you want to get reparations? Did you want to increase the median wealth of a black family? Do you want to make sure that like black people are not denied jobs based on having black sounding? Do you care about any of that? Or do you want to sound like the most correct person in the room right now? The perfect white? Is that what you're trying to do? Like you're not one of the bad whites. Oh, no, you're one of the ones who knows the correct term to use right now. And for only the cost of a virtue signal, you then get to be performatively the correct one in the room. Where it's like, excuse me, but the term is African American, and I will not stand idly by. Well, you commit these hate crimes. And then that's what Bill would usually go at, right? Is that like, I don't think you legitimately care about the substance of this argument outside of you just want to feel like you're right because you have, in your own way, found the best possible term to use at this moment. That's always what was at the core of it.
the era of political correctness catalyzed by SJWs. But more Americans are starting to realize that the right has become everything that they once denounced. So the shrieking about something being woke or DEI and being triggered by trans people and gay people, it seems hypocritical to a lot of people who were told by right-wingers who are seemingly offended by everything that you shouldn't be so sensitive. You should maybe take a joke from time to time, legalize comedy, as they say. But I mean, think about it. They went from lambasting cancel culture in 2021 and 2022 to full-throatedly embracing cancel culture by 2023 and 2024 with book bans and anti-woke scolding and boycotts of companies that were too woke. They've become everything that they said that they hated. And Bill Burr is pointing out that hypocrisy in a hilarious way. And it's about damn time. Somebody needed to say it. I've been saying it for a long time, but nobody's going to listen to me. But they will listen to somebody with cultural clout like Bill Burr. Now, to clarify, I think that he was referring to Snow White and not Cinderella. And to my understanding, the casting of Rachel Zegler, the actress in that movie who plays Snow White, really marked the beginning of the right-wing outrage for that particular movie that he's referring to, since she is a Latina. And they want Snow White to be white. But she's remained a target as well because of political views that she's expressed. She's made anti-Trump posts on social media. She's spoken out in favor of Palestine.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to, you know, somebody like Gina Carano, the right is very adamant that actors and actresses should never be punished for expressing their political views. But when it comes to somebody like Rachel Zegler, who is not in agreement with them, all of a sudden she's bad and she should be canceled. And also she's not white, so or she's not white enough, I should say, so she shouldn't be Snow White. So they're complete fucking hypocrites. But
you know what's funny is apparently that movie is just as dog awful as it looks, but the only redeeming quality about it was Rachel Zegler's performance, and she has been the scapegoat from every single angle. Like, Disney has thrown her under the bus, just being like, oh, well, I mean, at the end of the day, she shouldn't have been saying free Palestine in, the press conferences and stuff like that. That got weaponized by Gal Gadot, who's like, I had to hire private security because so many people are calling me a Zionist and trying to attack me and my family and stuff like that. And then the right has been going after Rachel Zegler because, again, she's not white enough and she ruined the franchise. And also, she had the audacity to do what Disney asked of her, because like Rachel didn't write that movie or direct it. She basically is just an actor who was hired to play a role, and yet she did a press conference where she was like, oh, so what is going to be the modern day spin on the story? And she's like, oh yeah, so that's really neat. And this is clearly the talking point she's been told to talk about by Disney at all these press conferences, where it's like, hey, we're going to do a modern spin on the old fairy tale. It's going to be less centered around a prince saving a woman and more about a woman empowering herself to take, control of her own life and stuff like that. That's clearly what Disney is like, hey, can you hit these talking points? We want you to talk about this, talk about how, you're not just going to be, sexually assaulted while you're sleeping by some random creep. This is going to be way more about how you yourself save and take care of your own thing and blah, blah, blah. And they got so mad about that. Like, it was just immediately like, oh, the hardcore man-hating feminist Nazi Rachel Zegler basically says that she hates all men and they're all rapists. And that's why the movie is not going to feature any men in it, at least not any positive men. And she's not white enough.
With regard to this movie, there really is something for everybody to hate,
like
because it
Star
also
Wars,
stars
exactly.
Gal Gadot, who's an Israeli that openly supports her country, even as it commits a genocide in Gaza. But I mean, putting aside all of this, the movie just looks like shit, so I don't know why anyone would watch it in the first place. With that being said, Snow White is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's one example of right-wing outrage that has been so over the top that it looks cartoonishly fucking stupid. It almost looks like a satire, but it's not. It's real life. I mean, shows like Star Wars The Acolyte, as well as games like Assassin's Creed Shadows, have been the subject of so much right-wing outrage that it almost feels like we're watching a parody, like something from Idiocracy. And all of this outrage stems from people being mad about the race of certain characters. And this type of right-wing backlash has become so common that the developers of Assassin's Creed actually expected to be harassed simply because they made one of the characters black. And even though this rage is obviously fueled by explicit racism, the grifters who farm outrage off of racist, anti-woke content and DEI, they don't frame it that way. Instead, they frame it as an attempt to impose progressive cultural values on consumers and to erase straight white men from video games, which implicitly communicates the inherent evilness of privileged straight white men whose cultural hegemony should ultimately be opposed and replaced. Now, according to them, it's not about equality. because representation in their mind is a zero-sum game. So black and brown people becoming more visible in culture, in their minds, invisibilizes white men. But I've got bad news for all of these people who buy into this horseshit. It's just racism, pure and simple. We know what you mean when you say you don't like Miles Morales in Spider-Man because he's a DEI character. We know what you mean when you say that a movie like Jurassic Park went woke because they casted a black actress in the movie. And they think they're being clever, but they're not being clever. And these rationalizations barely conceal the true nature of their outrage. Do you think that people in favor of segregation during the 60s just straight up said that they were racist? Of course not. They cloaked their racism.
48-month wait for refugee status in Canada for the LGBTQ+. I think it's case specific. It's one of those things where I've said if you have the resources, I would definitely get a immigration lawyer to try and help you with it as well. But if that's just the standardized one by applying through the online portal, yeah, I mean it's better than nothing. But that's not
in a
good.
pseudo-intellectualism. So rather than just admitting that they were racist and they didn't want their kids to go to school with black kids because they were racist, they argued, you know, about the inherent differences between the races and how race mixing would uproot societal harmony and would be bad for all children, including black children as well. You know, it wasn't that they were racist. Quite the contrary. They liked black people. They loved them, in fact. They support equality for both races despite arguing that they needed to remain separate. You know, separate but equal. I mean, we look back at that argument and we can see why they said what they said. They wanted to be racist without explicitly saying that they were racist, but they were making a racist argument. I mean, you can apply this to basically any civil rights battle. Do you think that the bigots during the 2000s argued against marriage equality by just admitting that they hate gay people and they think that gay people are icky? Of course not. They would talk about how, you know, marriage is just a cherished institution that was ordained by God, not the state. And so by allowing the state to grant marriage rights to anybody, you're taking away something that's supposed to be God's. I mean, till this day, conservatives insist that the Civil War wasn't about slavery. Rather, it was about states' rights. Never mind the fact that, you know, the states wanted the right to own human beings as property, but it wasn't about slavery. It was about states resisting a tyrannical federal government that wanted to impose its will on them. So nobody's going to just straight up say what they mean, because explicit racism in today's society is rejected. There's backlash to it. So they cloak it in some other argument that's more palatable to people who might not notice that. So I say all this to say that you can try to apply a thin veneer of intellectualism to your dumbass bigotry, but at the end of the day, it's still just bigotry. You're not fooling anyone. Well,
that's just for Quebec. Outside of Quebec, it's 22 months. So 22 months is a lot better. Why is it double for Quebec? That's pretty ridiculous.
Case in point, Opera GX announced that they're developing a feature for their browser that removes Grummz, an anti-woke game developer, from the web so you don't have to...
By the way, this is so funny this happened, and right after this happened, this was like Grummz's big justification that everything that he's doing has a point. He's just like, you can tell that I am the most effective warrior against the woke mind virus that has ever existed. Look, how an entire browser... It's like, because you're annoying. Because you're just an annoying pervert. No one wants a weird sex pest in the fucking room all the time, just yelling, did you know this game features a lesbian? How could a game feature a lesbian? And then meanwhile, you are fucking LARPing around as a woman writing force milking BDSM lesbian fucking wrestling fetish porn. And then at the same time saying that lesbians are ruining video games. Like it's clear that you're just a perverted chaser who wants to be in the room getting off to the outrage farmed at this shit. Like it's a kink at this point. And so yeah, the Opera browser was like, hey, and the gaming version of the Opera browser was like, yeah, we just added a new feature that you can de-Grummz your web browsing experience. It's like, that's funny. Like everything related to fucking Mark Kern, that's funny. He's a supremely funny figure in all of this. Clearly the most horny man in the game. And then obviously, like, I don't understand sometimes with politicians how it gets as far as it does, where like, how in the world did you not think that any of this was going to come out one day? You know, like you should probably do some mild OPSEC and erase your old past as just being a prolific fucking forum porn gooner. But hey, that's just you. For Grummz, it was like up until Western Kabuki found out about the scandal, he was completely just leaving all this shit up there. And I assume was going to continue to do it in perpetuity. Bill Burr ripping into right wingers, which has actually been pretty delightful to see. He's just going off about how grown adults are getting upset over kids movies. That it's so wild to have people. He intentionally, I think, mistakes Cinderella for Snow White. He's like, not my Cinderella, he's not white enough. Get Grummz and share in the corner and a sandwich. Thank you, Draga001. I appreciate you.
Hear him bitch and moan about woke video games. On top of that, the official Assassin's Creed Twitter account ratioed Elon Musk into oblivion on his own app after he attacked Hassan Piker for playing their game on stream. And they pointed out how he literally paid someone to boost his character in Path of Exile 2 so that way he can look like an elite gamer and come off as cool to the gamers, which is just so pathetic and embarrassing beyond belief, but that's besides the point. You know, they also dunked on Grummz for shitting on their game while pointing out that their game is out, which is a reference to a game that he's supposedly been developing for a decade or so. That
don't worry, we got it. I don't know if you know the updates, but Grummz decided how am I gonna combat all of the very real documentation that's come out about him being, again, a person pretending to be a woman writing forced milking hardcore lesbian fetish BDSM porn. He decided I'm going to release a new version of his game that he's been working on for almost 9 years now. Over $500,000 of crowdfunding has gone into the demo that you're about to see before you.
Hasn't been released. In other words, we're already starting to see the culture shift back in the opposite direction, which is going to be really tiring for all the corporations who are currently cutting DEI, because in a couple of years when they bring it back or bring up something new to replace it, they're going to have to figure out a way to rationalize that once the culture shifts again. But I mean, it's gotten so bad where now apolitical game streamers are so tired of having to tiptoe around anti-woke sensibilities of right-wing snowflakes that they're just going off on them at this point because they don't want to hear their bullshit. One example is Fightin' Cowboy. He's a massive gamer in the Soulsborne space, and I've enjoyed his content personally for years myself. He makes really good walkthroughs if you play Dark Souls or Sekiro. But a couple of weeks ago, he went on a glorious rant against racist dipshits who took issue with him playing the new. He had the perfect response to them.
Everyone's so fucking caught up on dumb bullshit about fucking race wars and gender wars and all this bullshit. This big fucking stupid grift machine that's designed to make you angry. You want to know who you should be angry at? Look at the fucking people upstairs, bro. The people in charge want you to be angry. Because when you're too busy blaming the fucking dude down the street who's just trying to live his life, they're sitting there fucking counting money. You want to have a real war? Let's have a fucking class war. Let's get rid of the...
Oh, fucking right. Hell yeah. Oh, it's happening. Yes. The vanguard of the revolution. Streamers uniting. Gamers, finally. Oh, be still my heart. This is fucking amazing.
Fucking billionaire dickheads that are literally fucking our country and taking money from it. But that won't fucking happen. Because you want to know who these dickheads that keep telling you to be angry are getting paid by? The same fucks that are robbing you of pennies on every single dollar you...
No, you know why this is fucking beautiful? Because if it's coming out of the mouths of gamers now and gaming streamers, like the left can scream this to people all day long and just be like, oh yeah, this is fucking soy communist cock, that Serfs guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But once that message actually starts fucking getting into the minds of the everyday person, the coveted normie, and once they realize, yeah, shit, I'm mad all the time. Life is fucked. But why am I mad at trans kids? They've never done anything to me. They've never made me stay longer at work. They've never rejected my overtime pay. They've never fired me. They've never done any of that shit. They actually have nothing to do with my day-to-day. You know who does do all that shit is my fucking boss. And he has 2 boats, 3 vacation homes, and barely shows up to work. And I know that I work harder than him. He makes like 45 times more money than I do. That fucking sucks. But why am I mad at trans kids?
Earn. They want you to be angry and to blame the black guy and to blame the gay guy and oh, the fucking trans shows. Because those are boogeymen. So you don't look at them while they take your fucking 401k and dick it down.
Yep.
10 out of 10. No notes. Or I should say 5 out of 5 because that's the scale that Cowboy uses to grade games. But I mean, everything you said there is spot on. That's the same thing that I say on this show all the time. Scapegoating people who are marginalized, has long been used by the right to distract people from the exploitation of the capitalist class. Because if you're fighting each other, you're not going to fight the people at the top who's exploiting everyone. And to be clear, anti-woke outrage is not a new phenomenon. Conservatives have always understood that capturing culture is their key to political success, which is why they've invested heavily in the online right-wing ecosystem. It's why they're forming their own anti-woke movie studios to produce anti-woke movies, things that they say Hollywood would never greenlight. It's why Elon Musk bought Twitter to control discourse and culture. It's why there's a concerted effort to frame conservatism as a subversive subculture, as if it's the new punk rock or some shit like that, which I don't know who buys that, but some people do. But it's nothing more than the same shit in a brand new package. It's new marketing. See, when I was a kid, the right would shriek about spiritual warfare. They still do to some extent. And they would talk about how the devil is waging spiritual warfare through media and pop culture. And they'd whine about video games like Pokemon and how evil it was because that taught kids inadvertently about evolution, which, you know, is bad because creationism is what you're supposed to teach your children, even though it's wrong. Now, as a kid, I remember my pastor made a huge fucking stink about Pokemon, and my family then pressured me and really guilt-tripped me into getting rid of everything that I had that was Pokemon. My Pokemon cards, my Pikachu stuffed animal, my Pokemon stuffed animals, everything. Because, you know, if I didn't, I would go to hell. And this was one of many things that I had to get rid of because of anti-woke right-wing snowflakes. I was told that I would go to hell for playing Animal Crossing because one of the characters had a crystal ball. So, you know, that was the occult. And if you play that game, even if you avoid the character with the crystal ball, you're still basically doing witchcraft. So, you know, I've been dealing with right-wing snowflakes for my entire fucking life, and I've been sick of it. They've always whined about pop culture and things that are evil, that offend them, but the right learned that you're not going to win over the normies by simply saying that you shouldn't watch a movie because it glorifies the devil or the occult. They learned to get a little bit smarter and try to cast a larger net. So instead of saying, hey, this movie is evil because, you know, it's promoting a culture that we don't like, it's anti-evangelical, or it has themes that might be conducive to somebody questioning their faith, they say, well, you know what, this movie is anti-white. Or, you know, it attacks your masculinity. That's an attack on you and who you are. What resulted was this hilarious tap dance that he was doing where he had to avoid the elephant in the room. Just look at this short clip.
Do you plan on beating Shadows? Yeah, sure, I'll beat the game. Why wouldn't I? Don't force yourself to? No, I'm not. I've been enjoying this. I've been enjoying this.
So clearly he's afraid of the audience that he cultivated, which is funny to me. But at the end of the day, it just goes to show you that nonstop outrage is not sustainable. Certainly it can be effective in some ways, but you've got to pick and choose your battles wisely. And the right has not done that because they're not good at reading the room. They never have been able to read the room because they're out of touch, they're clueless, and they just have one political project, which is to distract people so they can get in office and gut the government and give tax cuts to rich people. So whatever they can say to make the peasants applaud and be distracted, that's what they're going to opt for. But I mean, if you don't pick and choose your battles, and if you say that every fucking thing is woke, the veil is going to slip and people are going to...
True.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Hey, if you'd like to unlock secret bonus episodes as well as uncensored content, go to patreon.com/theserfs. This show is produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Puppy, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Travis McClinton, Trincel, Words Greenwood, with additional support coming from all of these amazing human beings right here.